All right, I started the recorder, so everybody's going to be on TV now. All right. Okay, can y'all not hear me? That means I'm talking. That means y'all be quiet. Okay? I don't mind talking, but as soon as I start, that's when the talking what? Stops, okay? Student withdrawal. Now, everybody's been getting these emails, and just get them off because they didn't do the MLK Day right in the attendance. And when they did that, they started a chain of absences for everybody because they didn't do it right. I've been taking your attendance. I've been putting it in. So just remember this. If you go to class and you do your work, you don't have to worry about the attendance emails unless you're laying out of class and the teacher is real strict. I do not drop anybody, okay? The only time I drop somebody is when I'm asked to drop. That means student records, your mom and dad, your guardians, your family, financial aid, or student records. They write me an email and say, Hubert, you need to drop this person because blah, blah, blah. That's when I'll drop it. Why? Why do I do that? Because I cannot stand paperwork. All right? I have to go through, and after a certain date, I have to fill out this paper, and I have to put the last date of attendance, and I have to sign it, and I have to date it, and I have to send it to the department head, and they have to send it to the, and then you're going to come in and say, oh, I was out because my grandmother died, and I had 5 flat tires, and all this, and can I be reinstated? Then I have to go get another form, and I have to fill it out and get it signed by the department head. Then you have to take it after the dean of instruction signs it, after the department head signs it. You have to take it to student records. Then after 2 or 3 days, you're back into the roll. You're back on the roll. So I don't do that. The only people that can drop you is student records, financial aid, your family, you, or Tri-County Technical College. Hubert McClure is not going to say, oh, well, Miss Love, I really don't like her, so I'm going to wait till the 3rd day and I'm going to drop her at 8 o'clock. As soon as she's not here, I'm going to drop her. Okay, I have a life, okay? I don't know about these other teachers, but I have a life, and I got a lot of things to worry about except for who I'm going to drop next because I don't want to grade their papers for the rest of the semester. Okay? I don't do that. So don't worry about the dropping. So if you send me an email after today that says, are you going to drop me? I'm not going to reply. Okay? Any questions on that? All right, so that takes care of that. All right, when I pull up a question, and I want everybody to write this down, get your notebooks out and write it down so you know what's going on when I pull up a homework question. Now, when I pull up a homework question, this is going to be up here. And it's going to say 1.1, number 51. Now, what does number 51 mean? Well, those of you that's got a book, go ahead and get that book out. And, hold on a second. And turn to the 1.1 section. And look at the homework. And look at number 51. Okay, so, and the reason I'm telling you that is some of you go along in class with the book. And that's fine. And if I go over one like this, I'll say number 51, and you'll take your highlighter and you'll highlight number 51 in the book. If you're one of these book people that goes by the book. All right, now, this is not the only questions. We're going to have sections where y'all going to send 10 or 15 questions. And sometimes I basically do your homework for you on the board. So some of you, especially those that bring your book, or some of you that print out your homework and bring it to class, you can mark these questions or put notes on them when I do the problem, so that way when you do your homework, you'll know how to do them. Again, I'm only talking to the people that don't know it all. Okay, I'm talking to the people that have never seen probability or statistics, or it's been a while since you've had probability or statistics. The people that know it all, you can't tell you anything anyway, so I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the people that are remembering it or trying to do it. Okay, that's who I teach to. So that's the book. So if you look at number 51, this question will be like the book in number 51. I'm trying to find my pen. The second number I want you to look at is right here. And that's the online homework number. And that's for those people that bring their, print out their online homework and bring it to class and put it in their notebook. Some people do that. I would say probably 10, 15% of the students actually do that. So we're talking about, in this class, probably 3 or 4 students that might print out their homework by sections, bring it to class, and they use it as notes, and then they do the homework, and then they put it in the computer. So that's what it is. If you want to see it, they're in order. Sometimes the computer puts them in order, sometimes they don't. So that's number 51, number 21. Okay, is that the same one? Okay, so that must be, that's giving problems, so it must be, see, and that's a prime example of 2 people sending in the same question. This is 1.427, number 14 on 1.4. So if you turn to 1.4 in your book, it will be like number 27. The reason I go through this is not because I'm trying to do that. I want to social intelligence. I do this because people are going to say, well, 2 or 3 weeks from now, I'm going to pull up a question, and somebody's going to say, what's that number 27 at the top 4? And that's what I'm covering it right now. All right, so let's look at 1.1, number 51 in the book, number 21 online. It's extremely important for a researcher to clearly define the variables in a study because this helps to determine the type of analysis that can be performed on the data. Let me go ahead and tell you right now, mathematics is one of the worst subjects where people use big words. Okay? And you're going to have to learn, not only in math, but you're going to have to learn in other subjects how to cut some of these words out. Now, another way you can learn it is have a very good vocabulary, which I don't. But some of you have a very good vocabulary. You can go through some of those words a whole lot better. But don't let the words intimidate you. Okay? For example, if a researcher wanted to describe countries based on ISBN, Internet Standard, blah, 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 group identifier, what level of measurement would the variable ISBN group identify? Now, suppose the researcher felt that certain countries with greater populations receive higher identifying numbers. Does the level of measurement of the variable change? If so, how? Nominal means that the numbers have no value as far as math goes. They're just numbers. How about your Social Security number? Is it mathematical? No, it's nominal. So the correct answer there is nominal because no, it would not change. The whole purpose, and that's where you go, the whole purpose of having nominal numbers is so you don't have to put them in what? In any kind of order. So once you do that, once you decide, oh, okay, well, let's put the higher numbers in the north because they're higher up northwise. Let's do that. Then you're talking about changing it from nominal to ordinal. Okay? Is it done very often? No. Now, what about interval? Could you change it to interval? Yes. You could change, as the old saying goes, you don't have to do anything but die and pay taxes. All right? You can change anything when you're a researcher. Is this a test question? No, it is not. Why? Because it is vague. It is confusing. One of the things you find out when you go through mathematics, and you go through a lot of research classes, is there's good questions and there's what? Bad questions. There's valid questions and there's invalid questions. To me, this is a vague question. The first one is fine. The first question is fine. The second one, it adds ambiguous. I can't even say it. But anyway, it's open. So now, let's see what they did here. Okay, ratio. Now, it would hard to be ratio, polar ratio. It would hard to be a ratio, and that's the only one that you wouldn't change it to Because remember, ratio is another word for fraction, right? Ratio, fraction. There is absolutely no way on God's green earth you can change your Social Security number into a fraction. Just remember that. There's no way. All right? So, ordinal will probably be your best bet. But would you do it? No. I don't think you would. Remember, the question says, now suppose the researcher felt that certain countries with higher populations receive higher identifying numbers. If a frog had wings, I don't like the second part of the question. As a teacher, I think I went over why it's ordinal. If it would be anything, it would be ordinal. But I wouldn't put that on the test. I'd put the first question on the test, but not the second question. Any questions on that? Now, these questions are hard to go over because they're vocabulary questions. They're term questions. And I don't like, that's why I'm not a reading or an English teacher. I'm a math teacher. So, of course, the questions will get a whole lot more mathematical after we get to chapter 3. So, just be patient on the vocabulary questions. Please. Let's go ahead and move. Now, when there's two questions that are the same, if it's a mathematical question, I usually go over them both. I go over it 2 or 3 times. If there's 5 questions that are the same and they're mathematical, I'll probably just go over it twice. And I'll probably pick the first 2, or I'll pick the first one and the middle one, or something like that. I'll try to, randomize it. When there's 2 like this, I usually just go over the first one and move on to the next type question, because again, it is vocabulary. Okay? This one is 1.4, 27/14. 27/14. Okay? The Human Resource Department at a certain company wants to conduct a survey regarding worker benefits. The department has an alphabetical list of 4,445 blah, blah, blah employees at the company. Wants to conduct a systematic sample of a size of 40. Okay? Always remember, N is always your biggest number. Always write that down. In statistics, N is always your biggest number. And K usually falls below N. Now, I don't know what exactly this question is asking. It looks like to me they're asking for 40. They don't give really any kind of explanation. I don't know where the K comes from unless they have it in the book. So you'd have to look in the book. So that's when you'd say, what is K? And you go over here, and they should have text, and they don't have text. So you go to view an example, and it should say the K. Yeah, they're saying basically the biggest number is that. And K is probably going to be 40. Okay, N over N. Okay, I'm sorry. I have no idea what they're talking about there because we never use K. So take N and divide by N. Somebody take the calculator out and take 40, whatever that number is, and divide by 40. Tell me what you get. That is what this is used for. Something that I don't go over in class, or something that I don't think is important, which I don't, because we don't ever use K. We don't use K in a lot of our stuff. So anyway, and take, what is it? What's the number? 4445 divided by 40. Somebody tell me what you get. Okay, remember, when you knock on somebody's door, you don't do this. When you speak in class, you do 2 things. Enunciate and make sure you have volume. Okay, and I'm going to ask the question again. I don't want to hear. And you do that on voicemails. I get so many voicemails in my office. Y'all think I'm kidding, but you can't understand the words y'all say. Because some of y'all talk so daggum fast. Oh, I'm not talking about y'all in here. I'm talking about students. So what's the number? Okay, say it one more time.
111.125.
Okay, 111.125. Do they give you anything about what to round it to? All right, now let's talk about that. Now I want you to write this in your notebook, because somebody's going to ask this question even after I go over it. Challenge. What does a challenge mean?
Obstacle.
Yeah, in other words, something that you differ. You differ in opinion. You challenge something. Okay, use it as a verb. Okay, you challenge something. What do you challenge? A homework question or a test question? So that's why you need to write this down, because some of you are going to have some of these. And when you challenge a homework or a test question, I don't know what happened there, or test question. This would be a prime example of a question on a test. I wouldn't ask it. A question on a test that you would challenge. Why? Because the directions do not give you what? Instructions on what to round it to. Now, if you were to take the old science mathematical, it started with whole numbers, so we're going to end with what? Whole numbers. You can do that. But I cannot turn down any question. What'd you say the answer was? 111 what? 0.125. I can take 111. I can take 112. I can take 112.1. I can take 112.13 or 111.13. I can take 111.125, because the question does not specify. Again, this is not a mathematical section, so I understand. But the way that you challenge a question in my class, okay, and this is a bonus question in your see me after class. Now, why did I put after in big, bold letters? Because y'all come to me right before class, and why do you not go to a teacher before class? Because what is that teacher trying to do, probably? Get ready for class. Now, luckily, y'all could come to me in the morning if I'm not running my butt late, okay? Okay, this morning, for everybody's information, I was here at 7:30 this morning. I beat my son. I got my son up and got him to school, and I got here at 7:30. So, but if you have a class that you go into right 10 minutes and the teacher's in there before the class and they don't have 10 minutes to get ready for class, chances are they don't want you to come to them with a challenge question on the test. You go to a teacher after class or office hours. Okay? So this would be a challenge question. I'm going to go with the science method, scientific method. Start with a whole number, end with a whole number, so that'd be 111. I don't remember even seeing this in chapter 1 when we went over it. Oh well, I must have skipped it. Fantastic. I'd love to be the guy that programs those comments in there. They'd fire me after the first week. You suck. Hey, wouldn't it be great? McDonald's is hiring. You want a degree in what? Okay. All right. See, I wouldn't last very long in a place like that. Determine the individuals who will be administering the survey. Randomly select, oh my Lord. Randomly select a number from 1 to K. Suppose that we randomly select 16, starting with the first individual selected. The individual survey will be what? What are we going to do? Okay, I'm asking y'all for input. What are we going to do? You're going to start with what? You're going to start with 16. What they're saying is, evidently, they're setting this up as a systematic. Okay? So every 16th person, I think, is what they're trying to say. I don't know what they're trying to say. Oh, I hate these two sections. All right? So you're going to put them in, and you're going to start with 16, and what are you going to do?
Add it to K.
Add it to what?
K.
Add it to K. All right? So what's the first number going to be?
16.
16, and then what?
127.
127, I guess. So how many do they want? Just 4?
No, they want 3 in the last one.
So that'd be 4, right? Well, somebody figure the last one right quick. Well, I'm not going to do it. Let's say 16 and then what? 127? Then what? 127 be 238? Somebody help me out. Yes or no?
Yeah.
I think the little formula that they gave us
It's
was,
143.
Okay, 143. How did it be 143?
it was like K plus, no.
Let's see what formula they give you, because I have no idea. I've never done this problem before. One thing you're going to find out about me, I don't try to BS you. If I don't know something, I just tell you. And the reason I don't know this is I've never seen this question before. Okay, it says you're going to take 10 and add it to K. 10 plus, and then you're going to take what? 10 plus 2K. So write those two formulas down. You won't see this except on your homework, because I'm not going to put that on the test question. The test questions you're going to get from me on a test from Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 is vocabulary, terminology, definitions. You're not going to get any of this stuff. Okay? That's probably why I've never seen the question before.
I think the number they choose is the little n. So it would be n, it was like little n plus K.
Okay, let's see what they did. Suppose that we randomly selected 10. So this question, randomly select what? Hold on. 6, so we're going to take 6. I'm ready to quit already. It's not moving. There we go. Okay, whatever. 6. Then let's take 6. And what would be 6 plus 111?
16.
Okay. 6 or 16?
16.
Okay. Well then, okay. 16, I thought that's what I did. 16 plus, okay, 10 plus 2K. So now you got to take 10 plus 2 times 16.
No, that's for the other question.
16.
Okay, it'd be 16 plus 2 times what? 111. Okay. Which comes out to be what? Somebody do that number and tell me what it comes up to be. I thought that's what I got. Who knows? Never done this question before. And the last one, somebody do the last one. What do you come up with? You're actually going to have to do it several times.
No, it's
They
a
also gave us a
formula.
formula for that
It's
one.
P plus n minus 1 sub K.
Oh, me. Who sent this question? You're going to fail this class. I've never seen this question before, and I've been teaching this for 3 or 4 years. They must have just added this question. That's all I can say. Let's look at the formula.
Here it's
There's n minus 1, or k minus 1 is what they're doing right there.
No, they're doing, yeah, they are doing n minus 1.
Or k minus 1, yeah. Or n minus 1 or k minus 1. I think it's, yeah. All right, write those 3 down. You don't need it for a test. 10 plus k, 10 plus 2k, and 10 plus 2, let's see, that'd be k minus 1, and 85 is k. All right, 10 plus
P plus.
Just give me a second. I'm trying, this would take K, so that'd be K. And then this would be P minus 1, or whatever, 40 minus 1. You subtract that. I don't even remember going over this in chapter 1.
I mean, as soon as they gave us the formulas, I got it.
Okay, how about I do this for y'all? Okay? How about I just do this problem out of class, and let me go over this problem, and we'll go over it whenever y'all come back Thursday, because I've never seen this problem before. Okay? Let's just do that. And that way there won't be any confusion, and I won't have any bubbas going, oh, well, hell, he didn't even know how to do it. Well, hell, I just saw it for the first time. Okay, so let me just do that, and I'll come back. Okay? We'll do that one. I'll leave that one on there and take these off. And we'll go back over that. And that's Mr. Van Buren, you're going to fail this class now. Just kidding. It's a joke. Ha, ha, ha. All right, I'll go over that one later. Okay, let's go on chapter 2. And I'll go over that one. I'll cover it 2 or 3 times with y'all Thursday. Okay, now chapter 2. Organizing qualitative data. This is your qualitative, meaning what? Blonde, brunettes, redheads. Frequency distribution. Write that word down. That is a test question. A frequency distribution is nothing but a table. A table that has the classes on the left and has the number on the right. Now remember, are we talking about quantitative data or are we talking about qualitative? Qualitative. Blondes, brunettes, and redheads. Okay, that would be the classes. So we have 20 brunettes in the class, 8 blondes in the class, and 2 redheads. The classes would be blonde, brunettes, redheads, and the head count is what I call it. That is the actual count. It's also called X. Okay. Now, we're going to find out later, and this is in chapter 3, and this is the stuff that I actually teach y'all on, that I've, like I say, when I saw that question a while ago, I've never seen that. So, when you have, let's say, I break up this class into 18 to 21, 22 to, let's see, 18 to 21, that's 4, so 22 to 26. I'm just making up some numbers, 27 to 31. All right? And I do this right here, and I say 4, 3, and 2. All right, this side over here is called P of X. Or sometimes it's called a lower class limit and an upper class limit. And this over here is called X. Later on, it's going to be called P of X. This is basically your classes. Now, when you have blonde, brunettes, and redhead, there is no numerical value to a blonde, a brunette, or a redhead. None. All right? So therefore, you cannot do anything with the mathematics on that side. But when you have classes like this, you're going to have to find your midpoint. And we're going to get into that in chapter 3. All right? So this is kind of qualitative data right here, because you're breaking the class up into non-mathematical classes. So how do you make those non-mathematical classes equal a mathematical number? You use the midpoint. That's only when you have a class like a range, and we're going to get into that in chapter 3. On the right-hand side is your X. That is your head count. Remember to put in head count, because if you total it up, you're going to get what variable? N. N is equal to the summation of X. And y'all all know that, because what did you do ever since the 3rd or 4th grade when you want to find your grade in the class? You add up your test scores. Well, what if I wanted to find N in this class? I add up all the people that are in here. And that's N. So that is a frequency distribution. In other words, it's a table. It's got classes on the left, and it's got numbers on the right. It's a 25-cent word for a table. But it is a test question, and make sure you know how to do it, because make sure you're familiar with it, because when we get to chapter 3, we're going to be doing a lot of them. There you go. Those are qualitative. They don't even have classes, they just got categories. Usually a pure qualitative table, I like to call them tables, usually has categories instead of classes. Capiche? Relative frequency. Relative frequency is a 25-cent word for percentage. Your head count number over N. Write that down. Head count over N. So let's take blondes, brunettes, and redheads. Blondes, brunettes, redheads. What did I say? 28, 25, 3, and 2. Is that 30? Okay, so N is equal to 30. If I want the relative frequency, all I do is put 3 over what? 30. 25 over 30. 2 over 30, and reduce it down to either a decimal or a what? Percentage, depending on what directions say. You would be surprised on how many people on the SAT, ACT, or one of my tests, I put find the relative frequency, and they'll skip the question because they don't realize that relative frequency is a 25-cent word for what? Percentage. That's the way I teach. That's a prime example of the way I teach. I take something that sounds like a Philadelphia lawyer, and I turn it into something that you can what? Understand. Especially if I've seen the question before. All right? If I haven't seen the question before, I get confused as much as you do. That's a little bit of basic math that you're going to see in chapters 1, 2, and 3. You're going to see a whole lot of it in chapter 3. But all of you should know how to find the relative frequency. You just don't know it means a fraction. Okay, I'm trying to get this thing to work. It's not. I know what's wrong with it. It's not calibrated. See, there's a prime example right there. If you're confused on what I did, just go to that example 2 on page, 62. There's your 3%, 3%, 7%, 17%, 13%. Now, depending on the directions, it's either going to be a decimal or a percent. Or they might ask you just to leave it as a fraction. 3 over 30, which would be what? 1 over 10. Capiche? A bar graph. I want you to put right here, similar to a histogram. Does anybody know the difference between a histogram? Okay, that's one sneeze. Can't sneeze anymore. Yes, sir.
I think like they touch.
That's it. That's the only difference. All right. Some people make up stuff in math. All right. Some people decided, well, I don't like the bars to touch, so I'm going to spread them out, and that's called bar graph. Is there any difference mathematically between the two? No. That is just something that somebody decided they wanted to make different. So a histogram and a bar graph are mathematically the same thing. The histogram, the bars touch. The bar graph does not. And they give you, see how long that definition is? Ridiculous. All right? I'll show you an example right quick. Here's a histogram. 5, 10, 15, 20. A, B, C, D. 5 A's, 10, 5 C's, and 15 D's. That's a histogram. A bar graph. 5, 10, 15, A, B, C, D, 5, whatever, angle, there. That's a bar graph, no different. But you'd be surprised how many people take. I had a student take a standardized test one time, and she was in like one of my calculus classes, and bless her heart, she was test anxiety and all that stuff. She got to a question like this. She blew a gasket, left it blank. Sometimes it's not that we don't know how to do the question. Sometimes it's how the question looks or how it's worded. Okay? And usually on a standardized test, she had no idea what to do. And all that is 25 over 4 divided by 6 over what? 1. Same type of this question. You'd be surprised on how many people would say, is the following picture a bar graph or a histogram? And you'd be surprised on how many people don't know the difference between histogram and bar graph. Very, very simple stuff. Okay? Is that a test question? I don't think so, because I don't think I even put it on there. And in chapter 1 and chapter 2, I'm pretty open about telling you what's on the test and what's not. Those are bar graphs. Bar graphs. Okay. Bar graph can be horizontal. I'm not going to spend much time on that. There's a horizontal bar graph. I'm not going to spend much time on that. Make sure you know how to use a pie graph. Okay, you need to make a note of that. That is a test question, not only on my test, but it's on any kind of standardized test. Make sure you know how to find the percentages. Make sure you know how to draw one. Make sure you know how to find the total number if it's a budgeting question. And 20% of your paycheck goes to gas or fuel, and you make $1,000 and $200 goes to fuel because you multiply 20% times that total. Make sure you know how to do that, okay? This is educational attainment of, I'm just going to say employees. Let's say you have 5,000 employees. In other words, N is equal to 5,000. Okay? Then how many are not a high school graduate? Then you would take that 5,000 and multiply by 0.12. So that's the main question you're going to get. You're not often asked to draw a pie graph from the start, but you have to remember that there's 360 degrees in a pie graph. So you would have to multiply the percentage they give you times that, which will give you a degree, which then you just eyeball it. Because I don't think many people carry a protractor with them. Okay, so you just eyeball 20 degrees here and 40 degrees here and do it that way. Okay, so make sure you know how to do that. Again, one question on the test. You're talking about, if I give you 25 questions on a test, or 33 questions on a test, 10 of them are going to be, what day is it? What's Hubert's email address? What's the last day of class? You know, that kind of, 10 of them is going to be that. All right, so you're going to make at least a 30 on the test. And then the rest of you're going to have about 20 questions. 20, out of 20 questions, 4 to 5 of them are going to come from chapters 1 and 2. And that's one of them. Okay. We'll go ahead when we get to the math. We'll know the truth about it. And I would like for this to work. Make a note about Excel. I do use Excel very much. When we get to chapter 3, that's all I do use. Now, a lot of you saying, oh, I'm not good at Excel. That's okay. The only reason I use Excel is because it's an easy way to me to get all the numbers on the board at one time. Because I can't write. See, the way I write, I wouldn't be able to get but 2 columns on the board the way that I write. Okay? So Excel is a way for me to get everything on the board at a certain certain size to where I can get everything on the board. I do use the formulas. You will pick up some formulas from me on Excel. Make sure if there's any chance that you can learn Excel to take it, because Excel is one of the things that you use a lot of in your day-to-day jobs. Okay? Unless you're a fry cook or something. Okay? I'm sorry, y'all. Culinary engineer. Ain't that what they call culinary artists, whatever. They go cook. All right. So make sure you download that Office, whatever it's called, Office 365. Next question. Or next thing. Good gosh. I'll show you how to make a pie chart and all that. This must be the homework. What section we go to next after 2.1? Somebody look on your outline. Is it 2.2 or 2.3? 2.2? Okay, we don't have to skip any. We ever get there. Organization. Okay, this is where we start getting into the math a little bit in chapter 3. We start organizing data. Now, the first thing you do when you have data is you put it in what? Order, Hubert. That's right, class. Put it in order. That's the first thing you got to do. Organize data in tables. You get a table like this. The first thing you want to do is put it in order. Why do you want to put it in order? Because you got to find the min and max, median, mid-range, quartiles, all that stuff. Okay? So you got to have it in order. So the first thing you do when you have data is put it in order. And that's what they're going to tell you on the next page probably. But anyway, put it in order. Number 1. After you put it in order, you can draw a table, which that's not what I'm concerned with right now. Damn Russians. They're doing a tally. This is stuff that I'm not interested in. That's why I tell y'all to read all this stuff, because I do a lot of skipping in this area. But I have to go over it because, okay, people, did y'all see me hit this mouse? Did I not hit this mouse 2 or 3 times? Okay, here we go. Right here. Write this down. This is on page 78. Determining class width. Now, when you're given a frequency distribution, you're going to have classes on the side, not categories. That's the difference between qualitative data and quantitative. 10 to 15, 16 to 20, or 19, 20 to 25, 26 to 29. Okay? Well, that's not right. Got something wrong there. Anyway, it's supposed to be 4, it's supposed to be 10, 14. That's it. 10, 14, and then 15 to 19. I think that's it. And then this would be 24, and this would be 25. There we go. All right. What is the difference between 10 and 15? And 15 and 20, and 20 and 25? That's your class width. That's the easiest way to find it. Class width is equal to 5. Just subtract the lower class limit from the previous lower class limit and the present lower class limit, or the higher of the two. All right. You always subtract vertically. I do not tell students to subtract horizontally because they get confused. If I was to tell you to say 14 minus 10, all of you would say the class width is what? 4. And that's not correct. 10 to 14 is 5 spaces. And that's what they're wanting. The class width is 5. All right? A lot of you say, 10 to 14 is 4. Nope. Count them. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. There's 5 spaces. That's the class width. So I usually tell students, do not go horizontally. Go vertically. 15 minus 10 is 5. That's your class width. This is your lower class limit. Write that down. And this is your upper class limit. From now on, whenever you hear a lower class limit, that means the low side. Whenever you hear upper class limit, that means the high side. Right now is when you need to write it down and say, okay, that's what this means. Take your highlighter, take a yellow highlighter, and highlight the left. Those are your lower class limits. Highlight the right in green, which is your upper class limits. Now again, I'm not teaching the people that wrote this book, okay? I guarantee you there's a few of y'all in here. But the people that I'm teaching are the ones that have never seen this before or haven't seen it in a long time. Class boundaries. What is a class boundary? A class boundary is usually a decimal under each lower class limit and above each upper class limit. We'll go ahead and write that down. Class boundary. You don't need it very much as far as mathematics go. All right. You need it as far as a test question on a standardized test asking you what a class boundary is. All right. If it's whole numbers, you go to the tenths. If it's tenths, you go to the hundredths. If it's hundredths, you go to the what? Thousands. I've got whole numbers here. All right. Let's go with 4, 5, 6, 8. Okay. I've got whole numbers. So my class boundary on these 10 to 14, this is going to be 9.5. This is going to be, add 4 to 9.5, you get 13.5. So 13.5, or not 13.5. You're going to go 0.5 here and then add to that. So 9.5 plus 5 is what? 15.5, 15.5, and so on. And that's how you get the class boundaries. So the class boundary is the decimal before the lower class limit. And in chapter 3, we're going to go into that real heavily. And we're going to calculate the lower class limit. Upper class limit is between the 14 and the 15, which would be 14.5. Okay? What is 9.5 plus 5? 14.5. So you can either calculate it or you can just put it in there. What is the class boundary of 20? 19.5. What's 14.5, which is the class boundary here, plus 5? 19.5. What's 19.5 plus 5? 24.5. So I've just done the class boundaries on this side. And of course, if you did the class boundaries here, they're going to be this. 14.5 goes right there. So you only have to do this side over here. Okay? That's how you do your class boundaries. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being very common, it's about a 3. You hardly ever ask for class boundaries unless the homework or test question says, what is the class boundary? Okay? Most of my questions will be class width, or it'll be other things dealing with like the midpoint. That's the first thing we're going to find out. You know, we're going to do the midpoint. But anyway, this is kind of an introductory to chapter 3. We're doing this right here. Okay? Like I say, it's not that difficult. And when we get to that section, you'll be okay because we're already doing a little bit of it now. I'll be glad when they get off the dadgum bar graphs. Heck, no. Never seen so many bar graphs. Make sure you understand what a stem leaf plot is. The best way, let me just show you a stem leaf plot. Got it on the next page. Stem leaf plot is right there. That's the best way. The best way to show a stem leaf plot is not to show you the definition, to show you how it's made. That's a stem leaf plot. It's kind of a box plot, except it's sitting on its edge instead of its back. All right. So how many 86s do I have in that table? Well, I've got 1. 86. I got a 96. I got 105, 108, 105. 105, 101, 102, 106, 100, 105, 107. And that's how you read a stem leaf plot. Now, if you want to base it on hundreds, that's fine. If you want to base it on 10, that is decided upon your min and your what? Min and your max. If your min is 0 and your max is 100, then you're going to count by 10. You're going to start with 0, and it's going to be a 1, it's going to be a 2, it's going to be a 3, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 10. So if this was 200, you would adjust it, okay? You could do it by 10s, or you could do it by 20s or 50s. I mean, I would keep it in bases of 10 or 100, depending on how big your data, how large your data is, your range is. Okay, but that's a stem leaf plot. Do I ever ask you to do this? No. Unless it's in chapter 1 and chapter 2. We do not do stem leaves in chapter 3. We do box plots, but we do not do stem leaves. But you're going to have to do it. You might have to do that as a test question. I doubt it, but at least know how to do it. Capiche? There's another example. And when you're doing stuff like this in the chapter 1 and chapter 2, just make sure you look at an example and you understand how the example works. With a pie chart, with a bar chart, with a histogram, with a stem leaf plot, all you have to do is make sure you understand how they got it. All right? Make sure you understand how they get a class boundary. Make sure you understand how they get a relative frequency. Just little questions like that. A dot plot, again, if you study a dot plot, it'd be more for a standardized test than it would be for my test. We're not going to do too many dot plots in this class. There's a dot plot. Remember when I said a box plot was a stem leaf on the side? Box plot or a dot plot is a stem leaf. Instead of putting the numbers here, like 61, 62, 63, you just have, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 11 numbers in this group. That's 60, between 60 and 69. Okay. So, what happened to it? Where'd it go? Did it just disappear?
Yeah.
Did I go to another page or what?
Just disappeared.
Yeah, you jumped to 86 when we were at 83.
And how did I do that?
No idea.
Okay, well, I'm not worried about it because I can't. I was on 83. Okay. I don't see anything really there. There's some more bar charts. Golly, what a surprise. I believe this needs to be the book of bar charts. Sucks. Let's see. What about 2.3? Did we go to 2.3 in the outline? Please tell me 2.3 is the last section. Thank God. I can't do this. I couldn't be an English teacher. I would suck at it. Okay. What time is it? Because y'all starting to fidget. Okay, we don't get out till what, 9:25? So y'all fidgeting, y'all being rude. Okay. So, now this is a very important section. Why is it very important? I circled why. Why? Okay, y'all can read, that's good. But why is this an important section?
So you can point out the mistakes.
Exactly. So you can tell if somebody's trying to manipulate your train of thought, if somebody's trying to lie to you. And I'm going to tell you something, and I have been living in the United States for 51 years, okay? And the United States is getting dumber and dumber, okay? I'm talking about students, okay? Which means our public is getting what? Dumber and dumber. Now, you still have the rocket scientists, I know. You still have the 2100 SATs. Okay, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about a majority of the population. You got more cashiers nowadays that can't spell mom backwards. All right? You got people that don't even know what happened in 1776. You got people that don't even know who the Vice President of the United States is. All right? All right? The people that are coming out of high schools are getting dumber and dumber. All right? It's worse than I've ever seen in the last 25 years. I don't know what's happening, and I'm not saying y'all, I'm saying as a nation. Okay? If you don't believe me, go on YouTube and look up DAs on the street or whatever. These news reporters, they go out and they say, "Who's the Vice President of the United States?" And they go, and then they want to legalize pot. We already got enough dumbasses walking around right now. I don't even want to go there. Bunch of deadheads. Anyway, why am I talking about this? Because you have to be aware of what's going on. If you read an article in the paper or you read an article in a magazine and it's got a BA representation and it's not correct, you need to be able to decipher whether it's correct or not. I'll give you a prime example. There's one in here with soccer ball. Anybody seen the soccer ball? What page is it on so I can get to it? Golly, a bar graph. Evidently, whoever did the graphics in this book, all they knew how to do was bar graphs. All right, what page? 98. Now, here's a prime example. I show students this problem, and not many can tell me why it's a misrepresentation. All right? I'm going to let you read the thing right there. Just read the paragraph, and I want to get it to where you can't see the bottom. There we go. Read that paragraph, and this would be a good thing for you to put in your notes. You don't have to write the whole paragraph, just write the numbers. And just look at it and tell me why. And some of y'all may be smarter than the average bear, okay? And you may see it. But not a lot of people see it right offhand. Now, why is that graph incorrect? settle down. Everybody settle down and raise your hands, okay? Because I can't get everybody at one time. All right, what is it?
There's no numbers.
Nope. That's a good thought. You're going to fail this class. Anyway, it's a good thought, but that's not it. Anybody else want to take a guess?
The size of the soccer
Oh
balls.
my gosh, I need to sit down. You actually got it right. Who said that? Wow. I've never gotten a class the second answer correct. You got it correct there. Why? That soccer ball on the left is about as big as one of those spots on the right, isn't it?
But
Okay,
it's
so let's
supposed to
count.
be a 4 million difference.
Let's count. All right. This is one ball. We could fit it right here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's say that's 7, 8, 9, 10. Almost 10 times bigger. But what is the actual difference? 4 million. That's why people, they look at a poll, and I'm talking about any poll. There's 3 things you have to look at with a poll, or any type of. 1, you look at N. At the bottom, when you see a poll in a national magazine or anywhere, down at the bottom, you'll see N is equal to. N is the number that they what? Surveyed. You also look at mode. Oh, Lee, I skipped number. Oh my goodness, it's the drugs. That's what it is. 2. Medicine, I'm sorry, not drugs. What did I just say? Mode. What is the mode? Margin of error. Down at the bottom of any poll, you'll see down at the bottom, margin of error. It usually needs to be 3 or less. If it's not 3 or less, the poll is not worth the paper it's what? Written on. And I'll put that right here. 3 or less. Why? Because that's 97, 98, 99% correct. Do you want to look at a poll that's 92% correct? No. As an executive, if you hire somebody, what kind of work do you want that person to do? 97, 98, 99% correct. Why not 100? Nobody is what? Perfect. So you always stress 97, 98, 99. Third, you look at the representation, usually in a graphic sense. The representation that you're given in a poll, you look at it to see if it's accurate. Some of y'all are going to see stuff like this in the future. How many people in here love history? Okay, y'all all suck. All right. How many people? I know there's somebody in here that likes history. Anybody? Okay, one person. 2 people. Okay. Let's say that you want to be a history teacher. And let's say you start doing research and you say to yourself, wait a minute, this is not what's taught in school. My daughter is finding that out right now. Okay? I told my daughter a long time ago, I said, you can't take what you're being taught literally. You have to do research on what you're being taught because it's not being taught correctly. Okay? And she went, oh, you stupid. Because daddies are always what? Stupid. All right? You know what? She texted me the other day, and she said, you were right. We're finding out all kinds of stuff. I'm finding out all kinds of stuff that I was taught in high school and junior high school, and it's what? Wrong. Why? It goes along, and I'm not saying this about all schools, and I'm not saying about all books, and I'm not saying about all statisticians. What's the problem with a teacher or a statistician teaching stuff inaccurately? Sorry. Are they trying to lead you a certain way? Probably. That's what the problem is with statisticians. We get statisticians, we get newspapers with statisticians, and we get magazines with statisticians that are, what's the B word? Biased. Okay? Some of you will see that in the future. You will see it in your books. You will see it in your magazines. and you will see it in your newspaper. So be aware of it. Whenever you see a poll, always remember those three things. I saw a poll. We just come off a presidential election, okay? So please don't get mad at me because I'm using real world as an example. All right? But before the first Republican debate, all right, there was supposed to be a leader in the Republican. There was 18, was there 17 or 18? Was it 17 or, I think it was 17. 18. There was 18. There was 18 nominees for the Republican side of the presidency. All right? Who was supposed to win the Republican nominations? Anybody know? Same kind of thought as to who was supposed to win the Democratic side. Okay? Who was supposed to win the Republican side? Anybody? Do y'all watch the news at all? No. Okay, that's another reason we got people who can't spell mom back there. Huh? Nope. Nope. He was second choice. Bush. Which he sucked big time, all right? I wanted any of them besides Bush. That's the one I didn't want because he was not a good leader. I don't think he was. But anyway, after they found out that Bush was a dud, who'd they turn to? They turned to Cruz. They didn't really want to. And we're talking about the elites. We're talking about the Republican National Convention. Because they in no way hell wanted Donald Trump. All right? Which I did. I loved it. All right. So, still love it. Anyway, the first debate came up, and there was this incredible poll that came out the night before the first debate. Okay? And the first debate, and it was 23% of the nation wants Cruz to be the next president. And down at the bottom, it said, margin of error, 7%. And it said, N is equal to 105. All right, what's wrong with that? They pulled it, they went to somebody's church and pulled up 105 people at a church service or somewhere. And what was the margin of error? 7%. That means they were 93% confident in those 105 people were telling prediction for the population, which is a farce. Why did they print that poll before the first Republican debate?
Sensational.
Because they wanted to sway people. They wanted to sway voters. Okay? That's what, now, a lot of people say, well, Hubert's talking about politics. You see it in books. Have you ever seen and I use history and psychology a lot. Have you ever seen, okay, how about biology? Have you ever seen a biology book that was a little bit swayed toward evolutionism versus creativism? I can't even say it. Okay? Have you ever seen one of those? It happens. How about anybody ever seen a real form of bias before? In a magazine or a book or a TV or anything like that? Anybody? You will. My daughter, I love her to death. She thought I was crazy. And she got on Facebook the other day and said, this is wrong. And you know what I did? I got on there and said, hey, say I told you so. Shut up. Okay? She told me to shut up because she knew I was right. And she is studying to be a history major, and she wants to teach history, hopefully here at Tri-County. She's wanting to teach history, and she's finding out that some of the stuff she was taught is not what? Correct. And it was about Europeans coming to the United States and settling, and they spread out so more settlers could come or something like that, and it didn't happen that way. I don't know. I'm not a history person. I just study a little bit. But that's what this is. A misrepresentation. Is this a mistake? No. They're trying to tell you as readers, because you're not going to read this. This is words. People are going to read this. People are going to look at this. Oh my God, soccer's going crazy. Which is not, but that's what the picture shows. All right? So be careful what you read and what you look at, because not all the time is it going to be true. I'd say hopefully 75% of the time it's true. But you got to watch that 25%. Okay? Question. Right. Complaint. All right, we're going to stop right about here. Now, you are responsible now for homework in chapter 1 and what?
2.
Chapter 2. So, y'all have a good day. See y'all Thursday. Got any questions? You know where I am. Okay, why isn't my mouse working? Thank you, sir. Have a good day. What is the problem with this stupid recorder? I'm sorry, hold on. What is wrong with this thing?